Bill Self has his third commit in like 5 or 6 days. Javon Bardwell is a 5-star. We're going to break down his game and his commitment to KU on today's episode of Locked On Jayhawks.
You are Locked On Jayhawks, your daily podcast on the Kansas Jayhawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on? Derek Johnson here. This is Locked On Jayhawks. Thanks for making it your first listen every day, and thank you to the everydayers catching each and every episode of the show. We are free and available anywhere you get your podcast, including on our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe. And on today's edition of LOJ, a little bonus episode, we're getting to Javon Bardwell. He is the 5-star recruit that is committed to the University of Kansas as part of the class of 2027. Is he going to stay in that class? Is he going to reclassify? We'll break that all down, scouting report on him, and what it could look like for the future of KU, whether it is 2026 or 2027. Let's just start right there with the big news of the day, and that would be that Bill Self and his staff continue to be on an absolute tear. So you get Talon Kinney, a 5-star commit last Sunday. On Wednesday, you add a 4-star commit into the toe. And then now today, you add another 5-star. Now, this is the class of 2027 with Javon Bardwell. But again, there's at least, some conversation. Could he reclassify in the end? Doesn't sound like that decision will be made until the end of his school year, so to speak, the end of his season before next season, which makes sense because from the Kansas perspective, it's probably also like, hey, we want to leave that door open too, right? Let's say we have the opportunity to bring on like a big time, transfer edition, and we need the money for that specific year or the opportunity for that specific player. Then you go out and use it versus if it's like, you know what, we do have that open spot that we think, you could make an impact in the rotation. Like just come on down now, similar to what, Cole Rosario is going to try to do this year for KU. But in the end, he chooses Kansas over Louisville, USC, and Texas. And this is another one we've talked a lot about, and we had a previous episode, thank you to everydayers if you already caught it, talked a lot about the new assistant coach hires for Bill Self with Jacques Vaughn and Tony Bland, how they are paying dividends in the recruiting game for KU. And that seems to be the case here for Tony Bland, who had a good relationship with him and seems to have gotten this over the finish line for KU. So again, those hires by Bill Self really paying off for KU. Now, Bardwell is 24/7 Sports number 13 overall player in the class of 2027. He's also the number 5 small forward, and he's that 5-star recruit. He is originally from Harlem, New York, which, Bill Self has had some good success with players from New York. You think of Tyshawn Taylor, you think of Russell Robinson, and a very different player here, more of a wing, but he used to be a point guard. I'll get to his growth spurt here in a second, but he went to Arizona for prep school and now coming for, I guess, his final year of prep school or final 2 years, depending, whether he reclassifies or not, is with Overtime Elite, meaning this continues the KU momentum with OTE and honestly makes me feel that definitively this is a pipeline for Kansas with all the players they're landing from Overtime Elite. Talon Kinney on Sunday is from Overtime Elite, right? But going beyond the Overtime Elite pipeline, and certainly that helping, this definitely seemed like one that Tony Bland was a huge piece on. And so when you combine those two things, that Kansas seems to have good relationships with OTE, with Tony Bland, who seems to have a good relationship with Javon Bardwell, with the Kansas brand and Adidas, and that's how you get this thing done. So good teamwork there for KU. And, it certainly feels like KU and Bill Self are building a recruiting giant right now. And when I have these conversations, it comes at a level of oh, so you're saying Kansas hasn't been recruiting well? No, Kansas has been recruiting just fine in the past. But there's a level between where Kansas has been recruiting, which has been very good, to the top 1 or 2 each and every year. And we've seen Kansas have one of those top 1 or 2 classes here and there. But have they done it year over year over year, like the Dukes and the Kentuckys when John Calipari was there? And so from that perspective, that's where I'm very interested to see, is this something that they continue to build toward? Is this something that they're putting as their main priority in building a roster, their main focus? Whatever priority it is, it seems to be working for KU. All right, let's get to the scouting report on Bardwell. This is Locked On Jayhawks. Today's episode of the show is brought to you by Mazda. You can just move through life, or you can find the things that move you. It's your choice. You can choose to get out there, choose your people. You can choose to go for it, like really go for it. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Kansas, we're going to go back to the game against Cincinnati. I know you lose the game, but Blake Harrell actually played a really good game. Like, again, the defense did not play well for KU, but Harrell had a bunch of tackles. He was one of the few guys who was able to seemingly affect at least one or two times against Brendan Sorsby. And actually, the Kansas pass rush got a decent amount of pressures, even though it didn't feel like it was always there. But what am I doing here? Blake Harrell had a really good game for KU, despite the kind of bad stuff going on around him. And he's on a tear right now. That's like 3 straight weeks now where Blake Harrell is jumping off the page at defensive tackle for KU. And just like Blake Harrell is delivering right now for Kansas, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day, only with DoorDash. Terms apply, promo period through November 18th. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Locked On Jayhawks. And again, don't forget to check out our KU UCF preview and keys to the game right here as well. All right, Javon Bardwell, KU's newest commit, 5-star. He's a 6'6", 175-pound wing. Clearly somebody who you're going to be looking to add weight to. The idea that he's going to be playing a year with overtime elite probably will be better at adding weight to his frame than if you were playing at the high school level. So that's probably a good thing there. But here's what I find really interesting. So he was like a 6'3", depending where you saw, 6'4" guard at some sites. Now he's like a 6'6", 6'7" wing. And apparently he had this is some story that was online. He had a 5-inch growth spurt in the summer of 2024. And so that gets him from being a former point guard into being more of a wing. Now, first of all, I just like that in general, because a lot of times the players where that happens, like you are developing guard skills and then you end up being a bigger position. So you're just a very skilled player at your position where there always isn't that much skill. So that's a good thing for Bardwell too. But it also does it hint at the idea that maybe he's not done growing yet? I'm not saying he's going to have another 5-inch, growth spurt and be a center. No, what I'm saying is, does he have another inch or two on the bone, right? Because what if he ends up 6'7"? What if he ends up 6'8", right? And I mean, 6'6" is already, good enough size on the wing in the college game, but I don't know, that at least is in the back of my mind. Now, so from watching highlights, which there weren't a lot readily available, to be clear on this, but you can definitely see a smooth athlete. And from that perspective, I can see why he's ranked very highly. Very smooth from an athletic perspective for Bardwell. And he's one of the, there's different types of jumpers. I don't know, this is very unscientific, but there's power jumpers. I think of a Zion Williamson, or I don't know, a Sean Kemp or a Blake Griffin. And maybe that just comes with being a bigger guy, but where it's a thunderous power sort of thing. Then there are guys who are just pure, springy athletes, where it's you're a pogo stick. And then there's the guys who can jump up and are just so smooth and look like they're floating on air. And it's just it looks so natural and you're making it look easy. He's one of those guys that feels like he floats when he jumps, that he just kind of hangs in there. And it doesn't always I think automatically when you think of jumping, you think of, okay, going for a block, going for a rebound, going for a dunk. But we don't always think about it from a perspective of when you're driving into the lane and when you jump up to take the layup, are you able to float high in the air and float longer than your opponent, where it allows you to get that extra little 10th second where you can get that opening for the layup? That is what I see from Javon Bardwell. Very good at kind of just floating in the air, and it allows him to finish at the rim really well. And I think something else that allows him to finish at the rim, I noticed a lot on the highlights. So it looked like he was a righty from the shot, but from the layup package, a lot of left-handed finishes, a lot of dexterity in the layups. So I think going to be very good at doing that. You see some of the length, you see some of the quickness, you see some of the step backs. Again, good dexterity kind of finishing. And when you combine all those things together, he definitely seems like somebody who is a good athlete that's going to be able to create his own shot. And that makes sense when you package that together in a 6'6" wing, why he's going to be a 5-star recruit. So definitely exciting there. Now, we do have some stats. He played this past season for Overtime Elite. And between the regular and the postseason, 17.6 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game. So really good numbers right off the bat there. Now, just 1.5 assists per game compared to 2.2 turnovers per game. So you want to get that, to where you're not having a negative assist to turnover ratio there. 1.2 steals to 0.3 blocks per game. Also 1.1 dunks per game. So, that adds up there. 43% from the floor. So you'd like to see that a little bit higher. 31% from three. That's on 3.4 attempts per game. And 69% at the foul line. So the shooting percentages are all fine. None of them are excellent necessarily, but do keep in mind, because again, if he's class of 2027. So theoretically, again, he could reclassify, but theoretically, he could have 2 more years. That basically means he is going into this season, what would, for all intents and purposes, be his junior year of high school, just from a before getting ready for college perspective. And so if you were to say a sophomore in high school accomplished that at Overtime Elite against other dudes who are 4 or 5-star recruits, against other guys who are going to play college and are going to play pro, that becomes even more impressive when you frame it that way. At the very least, if he does join in the class of 2026, you're still talking about a high school junior there who's going to get better this next season. So impressive young player. Let's get to that conversation, though. Class of 2026 or class of 2027? Today's episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus. Powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and your energy level each week. You can find certain instructors that you like better than others and just keep going to their classes, or watch it on a rerun and just keep doing the same workout if you like it so much. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Thanks again for joining us on this bonus episode of the show. Don't forget you make Locked On College Football your second listen every day, and check out some of our other KU basketball. We had other commitment content this week on Locked On Jayhawks. We had a lot of KU UCF content this week on Locked On Jayhawks, and certainly plenty more to come this weekend. Okay, so when it comes to the class of 2026 or 2027, some of the comments tell me that it's going to be possible either way, is how I'm reading into that with Bardwell, right? This doesn't feel like a situation where it's like, I don't know if he's going to be able to make it work this way or that way. It feels like it's more of a question of where's the money, where's the playing time, where's the opportunity, what's the best for my developmental path, all those sorts of questions that are the right questions that you should be asking if you're, a 5-star prospect, right? And so from that perspective, again, if we get into next offseason and it's like, hey, I have an opportunity based on next year, right? What if Cole Rosario breaks out this year and Cole Rosario goes pro early and now there's just one less guy you're competing with on the wing, and it's like, yeah, I feel like I'm going to be a starter if I come in there, then maybe you reclassify and join in 2026. If you feel like, maybe I'm going to be more like the 7th or 8th man, I'm going to develop another year, make a little bit of cash at Overtime Elite, then go off to Kansas and, do my thing. All right. Like, yeah, either way, that's going to be the case, but that's a good situation to have for Kansas, that they have this flexibility now that they can play it one of two ways. And so you look at this year, 2026, Darren Peterson's team. You look at 2027, it could be Taylon Kinney's team, right? I mean, I guess you could say like Elmarco Jackson as redshirt junior, but you know what I mean. And then you look at the following season, and maybe by then, if Taylon Kinney's a one and done too, then you're looking at it being Javon Bardwell's team, right? So it just keeps you loaded with like future possible NBA talent each year, regardless. Or it just means that you have an extra 5-star on your roster next year. And so if he does join the 2026 to 27 squad, you could potentially be looking at like a backcourt of Taylon Kinney, Elmarco Jackson, and Cole Rosario, with this kid playing, at that point off the bench or even at the 4. Or you could play 2 big basketball with Tiller next to like Mbia, or I don't know, like does Flory come back as a junior, or whatever center recruit you're able to get this year. So like there's just a lot of options. And then, if you do fast forward to the 2027 to 28 season, like what if you have a redshirt senior, Marco Jackson, what if Taylon Kinney does come back for sophomore year, and then you have this kid as a freshman? I don't know. It's hard to predict rosters too far in the future with today's day and age of how things work, but Point being, this puts you in a really good spot with some flexibility with a really good player for the next couple years of roster building, and makes you feel like you have the cupboards continually full, regardless of kind of what happens with some other player personnel decisions. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Locked On Jayhawks. You can find our show anywhere you get your podcast, including on our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe to the show. Check out our KU UCF content right here with LOJ.